Shabana was always a special personality because of her lineage, because she was Shaukat Azmi and Kaifi Azmi's daughter. She used to take part in plays, and I distinctly remember one of the plays that actually was performed at the Birla Matushri Sabhagra, and Meena Kumari ji came to attend it. Of course, she came to attend it only because it was Kaifi Saab's daughter who was performing. And so, of course, she had a kind of a special star status because she was really a wonderful actress. Her diction was outstanding. And of course, she was an intelligent girl. So, therefore, her acting also, depicted that.
So, it was a natural progress for her from there.
I would definitely say that she was interested in literature, she was interested in the performing arts, and it was a natural progression for her to become an actress.
And at that point in time, you knew that she would renowned actress that she would be later.
Well, in college when people are performing, we all consider them as our contemporaries and therefore all hopefuls. Uh, I never thought that Farooq Sheikh, or for that matter Kavita Krishnamurthy or Preeti Sagar, would one day become professionals. But on hindsight, if I were to see the kind of talent and the kind of richness that they had, they were really slated for a very good professional career.
So, Shabana Azmi, was she very motivated to be an actress, or was she confident, or it was just like a
That I saw was, of course, Ankur and then Nishant. And what was really like a whiff of fresh air to all of us was the completely natural way in which she went through her entire portrayal. There were no histrionics, there were nothing like what one would say the Hindi filmy acting. You could make out that she was not only trained correctly, that hers was a very global kind of an interpretation. At the same time, you felt that she had thought about the character very well. Because when you saw Shabana in a particular role, you never thought of Shabana. You thought of the character that she was playing. And that continued much later when she was doing a film like Earth. I mean, I felt she was Pooja. I never felt that she was Shabana playing Pooja. Which I think this protean quality of sinking into the role really comes or stems from a full school of acting where you learn a lot about the character, where the character seeps into you. And at the time when you're actually performing, you're not yourself. You are actually the character, and you are watching yourself from outside, seeing how this character is developing. I think Shabana has got that technique beautifully worked out. And I do think that intelligence and hard work has always been the hallmark of Shabana's excellence. I remember Shabana once telling me that she was doing a role in Vijay Mehta's Pestinji. It was a kind of a Parsi film on Parsis, and the little intricacies of a little joint Parsi family. And I remember that she told me Vijay Mehta gave her reams and reams of little cuttings and reference materials, and there would be, of course, discussions on the role, but she would go through them all. She went and visited her Parsi friends, and she would pick up little nuances, the little way they would use their hands or the way they would adjust their saris. That I think is Shabana's really, I think her secret, or for that matter, her style of working, where she works on, she tries to find out as much as she can about the character. She likes to be one amongst the ethos so that she doesn't stick out like a performer or like a star. And I think if in the history or the annals of Indian filmmaking, her roles are looked upon with a certain kind of reverence or certain kind of awe, it is because there was a very, very intelligent, hardworking, and a very sensible, sensitive woman who actually went into the making of Shabana Azmi.
Do you think she very consciously got into the art house cinema, as we see? Did she get into that?
Well, over the years, we've had a lot of talk about her career, my career. And once she very clearly said that, when she entered the film industry, There were some extraordinarily well-placed, very glamorous people like Hema Malini, like Zeenat Aman, like Parveen Babi, like Dimple Kapadia, all of them who had more or less made an entry into the film industry then and had also scaled heights of popularity. She said, when I was doing Ankur, I looked upon all the other ladies of the screen and said, God, I can never be as glamorous or as beautiful as them. And besides which, she never really wanted to play a vacuous, very beautiful painted doll who just ran round trees and sang songs. So she said, I, in any case, had to work out a niche for myself as a performer. And she said she was very lucky because the middle of a completely exclusive niche to show her kind of artistry, to show her kind of understanding, to show her kind of characterization as she portrayed them. And I think to some extent it was a very conscious effort to be in that slot, but at the same time, practical and sensible though she being, she said that it is very important even for me as an actress or as an actor in the art cinema to be popular, to be accepted, to be seen by members of the mainstream cinema. If I have some kind of modicum of acceptance in the mainstream cinema, then people will take the effort of coming and seeing my art cinema. That's one of the reasons why she took on Fakira, why she took on Amar Akbar Anthony, why she said yes to Parvarish. I mean, many of the times her roles were pretty on the fringe. She wasn't even really the central character. But she was in good company. She was in company of the so-called glamorous stars. Those films were very successful. And Shabana Azmi from this cinema, acting in another small film, that was a kind of a bait where a mainstream actress or a mainstream actor works in an art film and takes that audience with him or her to see a meaningful film. Another thing which I always admire tremendously about Shabana is I sometimes said, Shabana, for all the efforts that you take, I remember the time when she was doing Par in Bengal, or the time when she was doing Morning Raga and she was in a village which was unhygienic to say the least. It was dirty, her living conditions were very, very bad. And she said, I've gone through a lot, but I think this was really the rock bottom. So many times I've asked Shabana, I said, you actually go through such hardships, you go through such tremendous amount of study, you go through a lot of suffering because you are playing real life characters from all walks of life, from tremendous poverty to some tremendous deprivation. And you probably get an award or two, but all that effort for what? How many people really see those films? I mean, has it ever occurred to you? And her answer, I think, was one of the most noble answers I've ever got. She said that even if 20 or 30 people see the kind of films that I'm doing, and even if 2 or 3 people get affected or are influenced by the message of the film, she said, I've done my work. It's far better that 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 people are influenced by the message of a film than a whole lot of people talking in a meeting or at cocktail parties. So she said the conversion, or for that matter, that little in-depth understanding that 3 or 4 meaningful people derive is worth the entire effort. Now, I think that's a very, very noble sentiment. So I would definitely agree in saying that, yes, Shabana's decision to go in for a certain kind of cinema was very conscious. Primarily because she herself felt a certain shortcoming within her in the looks and glamour department. I frankly don't agree, but she felt that she was not as beautiful or as glamorous as a Zeenat or a Parveen or a Hema. So therefore she said, I must carve out my niche elsewhere. But I think in the long run, and again, when you in retrospect, what I think she did do is she went to the kind of cinema that gave her the scope of being a great actress. Because now, again, when you look back the last 50 years of Indian cinema, you'll find there were stars of the 50s, there were stars of the 60s, there were stars of the 70s. But Shabana has been an actress of the post independence era. She almost symbolizes good cinema in India in post-independence era. So in a way, she's got a legendary status and a permanent status with 5 national awards to her credit and a lot of international acceptance, appreciation, and acknowledgement. So I think Shabana did the right thing.
So, and she got into your first commercial work.
I'll tell you. My association with Shabana on a personal level actually began around the time when both of us were about 28, 29 years old. Uh, she came for my birthday, which was in September, just to wish me. And 2 days later was her birthday, and so she came again. And in fact, I threw a small little party just for her. And that was a lunch party. And thereafter, I said, Shabana, do you mind if I shoot you? I wasn't really taking any professional pictures. I just was time, though I could have easily shot them, being in my position in an advertising agency. But I do think that Shabana was very, very instrumental in making me find within myself a profession, or for that matter, an extension to myself. And she not only pushed me into doing her pictures, she would push a whole lot of other young people. Like at that time, I remember there was Mazhar Khan, there was Anil Kapoor. All of them were, Prithvi boys, young fellows who were just trying to make an entry into film. And she would just send them. She would just ring me up and say, look, I'm sending you Anil Kapoor. He's very good. He's a very fine actor. There's Mazhar, who's a very fine actor. You shoot him. I said, Shabana, I don't mind shooting them because it's great for me. But I mean, do you think that they want me to shoot them? So it was like, I must say that she was very kind to send me people on whom I experimented. But luckily for all of us, it all worked out very well. But I'll ever be grateful to Shabana for that little push and for that little cajoling and coaxing and pushing me into this. For me, beauty is not the perfection of features. It's not that your eyes have to be great or your nose has to be just so straight or you have got to have a lovely bone structure. I must say, to a large extent, Shabana befits a lot of it. She's got the most wonderful skin. She has the most beautiful limpid brown eyes which look like pools of brandy. And she's got an extremely expressive face. But what is most important is that to me, beauty is not features. To me, beauty is not the paint or the hairstyle or the clothes that you wear. It is what is within you. What do your eyes portray? Your eyes must be like windows to your soul, windows to your personality. Any person, whatever he or she may look like, if they come up with a personality that's interesting, with a character that you feel involved with, that stimulates you, I think that is a beautiful person. In that respect, Shabana is one of the most beautiful faces ever photographed. Of such a high caliber, being from the Progressive Writers Group, they were not just. Kafi Azmi was not just a poet to reckon with. He was a wonderful poet of the highest standards in Urdu literature. But the amount of time he actually spent with mill workers, with the mazdoors, with the working class, and did things for them. Again, near his village in Azamgarh, the kind of electricity, schools, water, road, railways that he did to bring an upliftment of an entire society. That is what I would say is a true social activist. It was not just very revolutionary poetry that he wrote, but also what he actually brought into fructification through his actions, through his deeds. And I think Shabana is really her father's daughter. Because Shabana too, to a large extent, does far more than what she says. And therefore, it is very difficult for me to actually pinpoint, and I don't think she would really like it if I were to talk about the many, many activities that she undertakes, or the many people that she has helped, the many, I wouldn't even say charities, but social causes that she takes immense interest in, the number of women's groups that she actually supports and is their spokesperson, either in front of the camera or even behind the scene. I think her whole life is activism.
Performance in it, oh, that your favorite film, like one of the films.
I think it's extremely unjust for me to point out one or two or three films of hers that she's been good in, because I think, as I have always said, that Shabana is not Shabana Azmi. It is that character. So therefore, I would be very unjust to that character. I thought she was excellent in Par. I thought the character in Par was good. I thought the character in Arth was good. I thought the character in Mandi was good, or in Ankur was good, or in Nishant was good, or in Godmother was good. So, and since it was played by Shabana, it got a special significance, it got a special life. So, when you talk of Shabana as an actress, you must talk about the roles that she's taken. Therefore, you are actually describing the personality she's portraying. And since Shabana is the flesh and blood that brings these personalities to life, you say, therefore, Shabana is a great actress.